What's up everybody, this is James Blonde, and as some of you may know, I just got back from the Game Developers Conference in Austin, Texas, where I met up with several game developers to talk about some upcoming games. Now, seeing that GDC is like a huge meet and greet for people in the gaming industry, there really wasn't a lot of presentation in terms of games, but more of the companies that make the industry work. Now, don't get me wrong, there was still plenty of stuff to look at and people to meet, like this hot zombie chick, for example. This is the kind of zombie I want chasing me around. So the first meeting I had was with Patrick Strepel, the CMO at Gamigo AG, based out of Hamburg, Germany, where I had a chance to check out Grimlands and Otherland. So Gremlins is a post-apocalyptic hybrid MMORPG shooter set to launch during the first part of next year. And you can think of the game as sort of like a Fallout Online, essentially. So a couple of unique features right off the bat is that every single item in the game is crafted to go along with the theme of the game, and the shooting element is vaguely similar to Borderlands. There are, however, no specific classes in the game. The player levels up skills to make them specialized, similar to the skill system in the Secret World. The game also seems to have a lot of elements that make things convenient for the player. For example, if you join a friend's dungeon raid, once you finish, you transport right back where you started, just before you join the raid, not a starter town or other remote location. So it doesn't really interrupt gameplay flows, which is really nice. Travel in the game is also unique. Vehicles can be spawned, they can carry up to 3 other players, they can also be fortified by the means of enchantment, and they can be used as storage. So as you can imagine, in a post-apocalyptic world, territory war is a big part of survival, so Gremlins has an elaborate clan system, as Patrick explains.
As you enter the perimeter, the defending clan is warned, and then for 10 minutes, the point where you capture that area is invisible, and after 10 minutes, you can actually take it over. So the defending clan has 10 minutes to gather all members. Guys, lock in, go there, help defend. And we're even planning later on to do a mobile app where people can check the map and all those kind of things from the go and can see what's going on there. On top of that, here's the big feature that will come a little bit after launch, simply because big clans need to be formed. This is a player-controlled town. Well, actually, this is the ruin that will be the player-controlled town. So this is a destroyed city, and there's lots of high-level NPCs right there. And a couple months after launch, we will initiate this feature where clans can take over this town, or actually alliances of clans, because there's only 5 of those kind of clans out there. So alliances of those clans can take over the town, and then they can rebuild it. They can rebuild certain buildings and upgrade to certain buildings. For example, like a bank, and the bank can be used by people to store their money, or by a workshop to craft, and so on and so on. So not only does a clan then control a city, but this city is big city, as you can see. This city is really meaningful for other players within the game world.
Now the crafting system is also unique in that once you craft, say, a pistol from various qualities of material, you are granted a certain number of crafting points that you can distribute to your newly crafted weapon or gear.
If you put all those items in of a certain quality, you might have 30 different crafting points to spend. If you put in a booster, or if you have high quality material, or if you have a high crafting skill, then it could be more. It could be 35 or 40 points or whatever. But the key point is you distribute them. You distribute them on effective range, maximal range, reload time, recoil, magazine size, and accuracy.
Next up was another game from Gamigo called Otherland, which is based off a novel written by Tad Williams, and its story is similar to that of The Matrix, just even more complex. So in the story, people sort of lock into a virtual world in order to live out their fantasies, and this kind of plays a part in the game. And the virtual world has apparently crashed, and your job is to set it back into motion. Now what makes the game unique is its various systems. The game has several, but the Metamorph system is the one that stands out. It's sort of a combination of the crafting system and customization system in the game. The interesting feature here is eDNA. So every item and character in the game has electronic DNA which can be looted. So if you were to come across another player, or even an NPC or boss, you can steal their eDNA, and if you have enough eDNA, you can clone items or people to have the items that they have, and this feature really encourages players to search for unique items and gear. After learning a little bit more about Otherland, I head over to another location to take a look at InoGames, where Alexa talked about Kartuga, a really nice looking 3D pirate browser game. Now the game mainly is based around PvP, and you battle other players as a pirate ship. The game features 3 classes, a destroyer, protector, or engineer, and there's still a little bit to be known about the game as it's early stages of alpha. But I can say the visuals are really nice for a browser game. As you can see from the trailer, this is actual alpha gameplay. Later that evening, I found myself at the wargaming party. That was interesting, and I met some really cool people like the guys from Xfire, Overwolf, and Rosetta Stone. The next day I met up with Fernando Blanco with Spacetime Studios about their new mobile game Arcane Legends. Now this game, I've got to say, has to be one of the best put together MMORPGs you can put on a mobile device. Fernando explained to me that Spacetime Studios took what it was very successful with in their previous titles such as Pocket Legends, Star Legends, and the recently launched Dark Legends, and placed it all together in Arcane Legends. I had a chance to play the game briefly on the iPad, and the controls and combat in the game seemed very intuitive. There was just enough guidance in the game so that, you had control over it, but you were helped along the way. Now the pets in the game are grown and developed as the game progresses. You generally start with one, and they each give you a particular stat bonus according to whatever playstyle you may prefer. Now pets not only level themselves up, but they also help you in combat and even loot your enemies for you. So Fernando mentioned that Arcane Legends will be available on iOS, Android, and Chrome, and one other awesome feature that Spacetime nailed is the fact that players will be able to play against each other cross-platform. So if you're looking for a great new free-to-play MMO on your iPad or Android tablet or whatever, pick this one up for a try. After that, I met up with the President of Piranha Games discussing MechWarrior Online and what makes it live up to its own legacy.
MechWarrior is the only place you can get the MechWarrior play experience. It's got a unique set of rules and tactics. It's very thoughtful. It's very tactful. You're having to manage a lot of systems, but it's not as complex as it may sound. I mean, most people, ultimately, the game uses only about as many buttons as any shooter would. But you're managing a little more when it comes to your heat levels, your weapon groups, your torso moving. You're like a big walking tank, so you have to manage your torso. So once someone spends a couple hours and masters those systems, they really become a convert. Now they're addicted. They're fans for life of the MechWarrior sort of play experience. So yeah, that's really the biggest difference between it and every shooter. I think for people that are tired of just the latest shooter, really should try MechWarrior. It'll be right up their alley. It's still an action game. You could call it an action sim, I suppose, because there's some sim elements where you're managing those systems I mentioned, but ultimately it's an action game, and the action is pretty fast and pretty furious. And again, that's just one of those great things about MechWarrior, in that we can have a hot desert map and a frozen icy map, and beyond that we can have a map with a lake in it, and all these things aren't just for aesthetics. I mean, they actually impact gameplay. So your mech runs hot, so if you're in a desert setting, obviously you're managing your heat even further. If you're in a frozen map, you can fire off a few more rounds and not worry about it. You can go stand in the lake and cool off quicker. So all that we can actually say reuse our maps. We can take one city environment, let's call it, or one of our forest map, and one with the lake, and then we can make it now about a frozen. It's wintertime, and it's not just a different aesthetic. It actually has different play mechanics and style. People can play differently. So there's definitely that, and so our environments will have a lot more interaction in them than most players are used to in action games. And as far as the classes, I mean, the basics of MechWarrior are retained, which is mechs really come in 4 sizes. You got your light, medium, heavy, and assault class. Rules are not. It's not like every light is a scout mech, but generally speaking, of course, the smaller mechs are faster, generally fulfill a scout role. So one thing we don't do is we don't do an arms race. So we don't say everyone starts out in a little tiny mech because it's no good or something, and you've got to stay in that little no good mech until you can get one a little bit bigger, until eventually we have matches where it's nothing but 100-ton mechs, giant atlases, and everything battling each other. The lore of MechWarrior is that all the mechs have a role, and you need your scouts, and you need your medium, sized mechs. The majority of the mechs in the battlefield will be those mid-sized battle mechs. You'd have some scouts and some big, huge assault mechs. So we allow the players to choose what they like. What's your play style? Do you want to be in a fast scout Jenner? So 35-ton Jenner in our game can run 115 kilometers an hour, has jump jets, very mobile, and is an excellent scout. And it's a very powerful, useful mech. For pilots that are good with it, they can be devastating. And if you want to be a big lumbering assault class battle mech, because that's your style, you can do that too. And so, even beyond that though, why it works in MechWarrior is where say it doesn't in the other games is every battle mech puts the same weapons on. You know, a small Jenner may only be able to carry, say, 4 lasers, 4 medium lasers, let's say. That's the standard variant that carries 4 medium lasers. And of course the Atlas might be able to carry a lot more than that, the big giant Atlas. But that medium laser does, say, 5 points of damage to an Atlas, just like it does 5 points of damage to a small scout mech. So the small scout mechs can be useful. You know, they can damage and make an impact on any battle mech on the battlefield. It's not like all of a sudden their shots can't penetrate the armor of the big mechs or something.
Well guys, GDC Austin was a blast. I met plenty of new people and snagged the connection to be able to gain access to some upcoming games to show off. So expect some new giveaways, expect some new first looks. Plus this week I'm headed to Las Vegas for SOE Live, Sony's huge fan event. So look forward to some good coverage on that, but for now, I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.